Him is shallow, black, paranoid trash. I've seen a lot of people say that it isn't really a Jordan Peele movie because he's only producing as opposed to directing or writing, but come on. A producer is heavily involved in the making of a movie and can have more power than anyone else on set. I'm not saying Jordan Peele was a tyrant or that this movie is like his baby. I'm just saying that this is a very Jordan Peele type of movie. It's got his trademark. It's about evil white people who run American society on the sole purpose of exploiting black excellence. I feel like Jordan Peele's kind of racist. Maybe he hates white people so much that he hates himself for being half white. It's just weird that all his movies are about the same imaginary conflict. Like, you could argue that him was onto something with the whole secret society propping up goats for sports, but it's just the same white devil bullshit Peele's been doing since Get Out. Normally, I wouldn't care much for a bad movie like that, but this guy is clearly pushing a racially divisive agenda to profit off of the paranoia of black people and the guilt of white people. That's why I still consider this a Jordan Peele movie, even if he didn't write or direct. At the very least, he's endorsed this product and its message, which are the exact same as his directed project. He's like Spike Lee, but less subtle. Of course, the message is just the conclusion of the movie. What about the rest of it? The substance, the build-up, the symbolism? Before I jump into that, please give me 20 seconds to let you know that Sam Aurelian is a completely independent channel with no generative AI being used to make my videos. I'm also just barely getting off the ground here. If you like this video, if you're seeing it at all because YouTube apparently hates long form, please subscribe and help me make $1 million on coffee. Without further ado, him isn't all it's propped up to be. The messaging is very surface level, the symbolism is shallow, and the dialogue is wooden. It's the exact opposite of immersion. Maybe I can give the movie props for how it stays consistent. We don't see Isaiah White get injured in the beginning, we just see the aftermath. It's played up as a necessary sacrifice to win an honest game, an injury and battle. But when Cameron is injured, it's not during a game. He's all on his own and gets hit in the head with a sledgehammer, as if a football player doesn't have head injuries already. The implication being that maybe Isaiah's injury was also manufactured. However, this too had its downside, because they kind of spoiled the whole thing early on. It would have been better if the movie at least tried to make us think and marketed it as if it wasn't just another Jordan Peele movie. They did something like this in one of the earlier training scenes, but we already know the plot by then. Having that montage play straight, as if it's from a regular sports movie, was a waste of time. There's just no subtlety here. It's like they were insecure about their own messaging or thought the audience would be too stupid to figure it out. Like, in the beginning, we see this family worships football, so much so that they have a candlelight shrine for their team, the Saviors, and the candles were blown out when they celebrate the win. It's all so heavy-handed. And Cam's dad is just a bad father. He sees his son shocked by Isaiah's thigh bone sticking out of his knee, and just tells him that real men are willing to make sacrifices. That's crossing the line into ridiculous territory. You're not making this family look like they love sports, you're making them look like psychos. There's no nuance in him, and it completely takes all of the immersion out of the story. This extends to everything in the story. Isaiah's attitude, the roles of the shepherds, even the very Jordan Peele assertion that white devils are making life bad for black men. All the white people in this movie are evil. It's an unhealthy trope in Peele's movies. It really makes me wonder why he makes movies with so much hate for a race that he himself belongs to. There's a recurring motif in this movie where Cam is given an energy drink that's actually just Isaiah's blood. It's shown in the movie that Isaiah's blood has the blood of previous goats infused in it. The goat blood has been passed down through every goat to ensure the purity and recovery of new goats while keeping them dependent on the shepherds. It's like a mix of adrenochrome and fragile drip. It's also
nonsense!
Like, what if the goat they choose is incompatible with the blood? Do they just kill him? On that note, how did they cover up the deaths of individuals like Marjorie? How did they cover up the death of Isaiah? Well, how would they cover up the death of Isaiah? And the nonsense doesn't end here. When it's time to crown a new goat, why are the shepherds defenseless? These people should have guns. Instead, Cam kills them all with a single mace, except that one spindly guy who gets sucked into a pentagram for symbolism. It gets to a point where, even in the modern movies as content culture, filmmakers keep finding new lows. Him tries so hard to mean something, it ironically means and says nothing at all, because the creators clearly don't really care or think deeply about the subject matter. They believe in, or at least push forward, the white devil narrative because it makes them feel like Whitey is the reason they're unhappy. It's an eternal dedication to seeing yourself as a victim, not as a man. We also don't get to see what really separates Cam from the previous lineage of goats. Why is Cam the only one in however long to defy the shepherds? Are we supposed to assume the previous goats were a different moral breed as well as physical? Surely some of the other ones had to have been involved in killing, like how Cam watched Isaiah kill Marjorie. Surely previous goats would have found it difficult to adjust to this revelation and role. What actually makes Cam different? As a character, why does he make different choices than the previous goats? Apparently it doesn't matter as long as we get cheap symbolism and vague expressions. Somehow that's enough to show that Cam is different? His whole concept of goats is stupid too. You're telling me every generation has one player who gets to be the GOAT, and just in football? What if there's 4 or 5 really good players? What if the GOAT, even after the GOAT blood transfusion, still isn't as good as some other players? These aren't plot holes, they're fundamental flaws in the setup of the story. And remember when I said Cam's dad is a bad father? Understatement of the year. He signed up for his son to be initiated into a satanic cult after he died. It's like the movie wants to present the idea of sacrifice as a negative, but they chose the most ridiculous, non-existent, comical example for it. Now, if you've seen the thumbnail, you've seen the allusion of him to Eyes Wide Shut. Eyes Wide Shut is another movie about an unsuspecting man who enters a dark world of shadowy elites engaging in covert debauchery. Eyes Wide Shut makes sense though. Its scale, the secrecy of the society, and main character all blend together in a way that serves the ultimate narrative purpose. The secret elite society of hedonism might be the main thing people remember from Eyes Wide Shut, but the real meat of the story is the movie's message about the main conflict. Dr. Harford's insecurity, rational or otherwise, with his wife's confession that she once considered leaving the stable monogamous life to elope with a sailor. The elite orgies act as an antagonist to Harford's conflict, but aren't the actual reason for it. They're not omnipotent, they're more ornamental. The society feels vast and terrifying during the ballroom scene, but after Bill leaves, they're a little smaller. We see how they try to warn him, cover stuff up, and intimidate him. They're trying to rattle him, but they're not consuming him. The real danger Bill faces isn't these masked men, it's his own unraveling desires and doubts. They're an external figure of temptation, while the conflict for Bill is internal. He projects his doubt and insecurity about his wife outward. He follows women, he tests the limits of his fidelity. The elites embody this temptation in the most grotesque, exaggerated way possible. But if they didn't exist, Bill would still be struggling. They're mirrors, not masterminds. Their power contrasts with his responsibility. These people justify the way they indulge endlessly and anonymously. Bill doesn't, or he can't, because he's binding himself by ties if severed or never maintained to begin with. His wife, his child, his medical practice, his ordinary moral life, the elites have cast off responsibility, and their decadence makes his responsibility look heavier but also meaningful. The elites add a layer to the narrative, not the entire story of Eyes Wide Shut. By making the orgy participants the elite, separate from Bill's normal life, Stanley Kubrick grounds the temptation in something believable. Power and privilege often bend morality. This makes the society narratively credible without elevating it to the level of cosmic evil. Like, they're not ruling the world, they're being ruled by their urges. Him does the opposite. This secret society is behind everything. They have the goat blood, they do the crazy sex, they kill remorselessly because vague symbolism. They don't even work as a strong foil for Cam with a message. Cam's conflict is the idea of sacrifice, right? It's just how much can a man sacrifice for his goals. According to the movie, not an entire stolen bloodline. The model just told us the message right in the poster. Oh. Am I supposed to act like this is insightful? It's not even something generic like the real cost of glory. What it costs a man physically, what it costs his psyche and his home life. Any nuance or attempt to have an actual message is abandoned for the most ridiculous fantasy to curse cinema screens. I can't believe people actually sat down, wrote this garbage, and got $30 million to make it a movie. Him is an insult to the audience, to filmmaking, to story writing, and to the very concept of theology even. Jordan Peele should feel ashamed for letting this movie be tied to his name. Justin Tipping should feel ashamed for writing and directing. Marlon Wayans and Tyreek Withers should feel ashamed for acting in it. If you survived the video, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you feel like I made a really good point here, help me make $1 million on coffee. If not, well, help me make $1 million anyways.
Goodbye.